Hello and welcome to 5 and 5, where we take just 5 minutes to ask industry leaders 5 questions on how they're handling this crazy period we're living in. We have Richard Wood with us today. Richard is the MD and founder of Six and Flow. Thanks for joining us, Richard.
Pleasure.
So that everyone gets to know you a little bit better before we get into the nitty-gritty, what is your opinion on pineapple on pizza? Yay or nay?
I think it depends on the situation, but generally speaking, nay.
Nay. Okay. Fair enough. So tell me, how has Six and Flow been affected by the COVID situation?
Not dramatically. So we tend to focus on the B2B side of business, and most of our clients are 1 or 2 steps removed from the end consumer. So still trading, they still have to sell, they're still having to kind of make sure business is moving along. So our clients are doing quite well, or business as usual for the most part. Other than that, the general having to shift the team to working from home, which they've all coped with really well. But we've not seen a huge change other than some delays in deals and decisions. So our pipeline is now about 20 to 30% longer. But other than that, pretty much same as.
Okay, well, that's a fortunate position to be in.
Yeah.
What do you think the long-term repercussions will be for businesses?
The obvious stuff. So I think people are going to have to be more aware of where their teams are working and how they're working. So everybody's talked at length about work from home, but I think there's some big considerations, particularly with the announcements that Google and Twitter made about never making people coming back to the office if they don't want to. Yeah. That's one side of it. I think with businesses in general, I think we're going to see certain industries will stutter and take a long time to come back. I think travel being the main one, but also e-commerce. Like the people have been forced into shifting their mindset about how they shop and buy things, which is feeding through to, I think, into the B2B world as well. So the decision-making processes and the ways that we used to close deals where we had to go and shake hands and things like that, I don't think that's going to happen anymore.
Okay. So what advice would you give to other entrepreneurs out there?
So if you're running a business and looking at your marketing, I think now is a great time to be revisiting the software you use, the processes you use. So we've got a downturn or a lull that we can be looking at and using that time to actually perfect what we do. So use that time wisely. I think there's an element of having so the past 8 to 9 weeks has been adrenaline fueled. Everybody's been rushing around to figure out what this new landscape looks like for them. So now that we've kind of come through that for the most part, and particularly in the UK, we're in more of a lull. So now is the time to be looking at the more strategic length stuff. Right. So you've done the firefighting, you've fixed what you needed to fix, you've got it back on an even keel. And now we're in a position where you can look at the next 6 months, the next 12 months and beyond that. I think as people start to go back into work and lockdown starts to come up and we're kind of stepping between reducing lockdown and a second peak, I think there's going to be more firefighting to be had. So now is the time to be planning past that as well.
Right. Okay. So what's your long-term strategic plan?
So our short-term strategic plan was to move away from direct demand gen, so less about generating leads and more about brand awareness and being as helpful as we can. So we spent a good few weeks reaching out to clients and prospects and saying, look, free of charge, let's jump on a call. We'll chat to you and see how we can better understand your market, but also give you some advice and tips from what we're seeing across our client base as well. So that was our initial reaction to it. And now we're starting to plan more into okay, how do we start to capitalize on brand and move more into the demand gen space again, so that we can then bring those in as customers and leads. And actually what we found is in that brand space, we've actually started generating more leads than we've ever generated before. So that positioning has been good for us. And I think what COVID has done, and as grim as it sounds, is the positive to come out of it is it forced us into rethinking the way that we go to market and the kinds of messaging that we wanted to be putting out. And it enabled us to envisage a new product line. So we've positioned the way that we've are selling certain elements of our business in an entirely different service line. So all of those things coming out of it. And I think ultimately we're going to see a shift in the landscape of agencies. So I think there will be some agency attrition, unfortunately, but I think the ones that come through will be in a much more solid position because they would have looked at the costs in their businesses, the way they're running their businesses, and all of those things will be tighter.
Okay. All right. Well, we've run out of time. That was really valuable. Thank you very much, Rich. And I also wanted to touch on, I know that you've been doing an email newsletter and you've started a podcast and all these things. Yep. So well done with that.
Thank you very much.
We'll talk about that next time. Cool.
Thank you very much.
This has been 5 and 5.